So what comes to mind when you hear the word conflict? These days, probably quite a bit, and most of it negative. Perhaps you think about politicians, Twitter attacks, turf battles in your workplace, or disagreements in your own family. We all experience conflict on a daily basis. But these days, conflicts in our society seem more intense and troubling. As a nation, we've become politically and culturally polarized. Nearly every issue sparks deep emotion, blame, demonization of the other side, and even violence. Some fear that we can no longer talk to each other and resolve our conflicts peacefully. And the conflict culture, in addition to testing our venerable institutions, has trickled down into our personal relationships, with some people reluctant to form friendships with people from different political parties. Does this high conflict culture mean troubling times ahead for our society or the destruction of democracy itself? Current events certainly have been disheartening, but they have also been a call to action. More people, especially women, are running for political office and engaging in the political process. We should not panic, at least not yet, because conflict is an inevitable part of our democracy. As one commentator noted, conflict is not a flaw of our system, it's a feature of it. Through conflict, we clarify our values, fight for justice, stand up for our rights, create new opportunities. Without conflict, we have no social progress and no democracy. But what can we do about today's especially chaotic conflict culture? I direct the Center for Dispute Resolution at Maryland Carey School of Law, and we pursue a holistic, multifaceted conflict resolution strategy to build a more just society. As a law school, we start, of course, with the rule of law. In 1835, Alexis de Tocqueville published Democracy in America, still considered one of the best books about our system. And in it, he noted that lawyers perform a type of counterbalancing role in American society, creating a form of public responsibility and accountability that would help preserve the blessings of democracy without allowing its untrammeled vices. So in simpler terms, when our democracy encounters crisis, lawyers and the judiciary tend to step in to give voice to the powerless, to enforce our laws and our constitutional rights, and protect the most vulnerable. Throughout history, and certainly in recent years, lawyers have been idolized as superheroes, I should say. We fight for truth and justice, give voice to the powerless, and hold wrongdoers accountable. At least that's why I wanted to become a lawyer after I graduated from UMBC. But after 15 years as a litigator and now more than a decade as a law professor, I have come to believe that if lawyers and judges truly want to foster a culture of conflict resolution, we need more than the power of the rule of law. Adversarial litigation is a vital power, especially when fundamental equal rights and our constitutional principles are at stake. But lawsuits cannot and should not resolve every problem in our lives. Lawsuits often come too late in the life of a conflict, and the remedies available under the law do not always address the root cause of the problem. Lawsuits tend not to change perspectives and strengthen human relationships. They tend to make them worse. So when we think about how to create a culture of conflict resolution, if you indulge me with this superhero metaphor, you know that every hero has a special power. The ability to fly, climb walls like a spider, run faster than a Black Panther, lift and break really heavy things. But every hero has limitations. And so in order to create a culture of conflict resolution, we need superpowers, we need to be superheroes that have a range of powers that supplement the rule of law. These include the power of dispute resolution options, the power of community, and the power of education. So let's talk first about alternative dispute resolution, or ADR. Former US Attorney Janet Reno once said that the lawyer should be the problem solver, the peacemaker, the sword, and the shield. In other words, Lawyers need to know not only how to litigate in a courtroom, but also how to prevent or minimize the chance that problems will arise in the first place. And we also need to know how to navigate a range of process strategies to accomplish our goals. So sometimes the best approach may be litigation, but it could also be direct dialogue, negotiation, or mediation, in which a neutral third-party mediator helps the parties to negotiate a resolution on their own terms. Most law schools today train lawyers not only to argue in a courtroom, but also to negotiate, to mediate, and to navigate a range of ADR process strategies. So does ADR make a difference? In the mediation clinic that I teach, my students and I certainly have seen it make a difference for many people who may come to the mediation table feeling angry or helpless, and who may leave with a settlement and a handshake. And even if they don't settle the case, they have a sense of voice, the ability to tell their side of the story directly to the other side and a third-party neutral. A rigorous empirical study in the Maryland judiciary compared the experiences of those who went through small claims court, went through ADR in the small claims court, to those who did the traditional trial process and had their trial in front of a judge. The study found that those who went through ADR experienced significant positive benefits. In particular, they were more likely to report improvements in their attitude towards the other party, they had a greater sense of empowerment and voice, and a party was more likely to apologize and take responsibility for the situation. And interestingly, those who went through ADR as compared to those who stood up in front of the judge and had a trial had a greater sense that the judiciary, the court itself, cared about them. And those who settled the case in ADR, as compared to those who got a judge verdict, were significantly less likely to come back to court within the next year. So process has power. The third superpower we need to create a culture of conflict resolution is the power of community. We need ways to de-escalate and address conflicts in our own neighborhoods, families, and workplaces before they evolve into lawsuits or even worse, violence. So telling people to listen more and to talk less, it's so important, but it is not easy to do, especially when we feel wronged, frightened, or threatened. So some communities have established proactive dialogue projects, which help people to appreciate diverse narratives and get to know each other before something goes wrong. Other states, including Maryland, have something called community mediation. Community mediators help people have difficult conversations about a range of issues in their lives. Community mediation is grassroots peace building, person by person, neighborhood by neighborhood. There's also something called restorative justice. In a restorative justice conference, everyone involved in a particular incident comes together to explore what happened, what can be done to repair the harm or heal the community, and how everyone can be reintegrated back into the community. Restorative justice is based on the power of human relationships. The Norwegian criminologist Niels Christie once said that society does not have too many conflicts, but too few. He describes conflicts as social fuel, valuable opportunities for the community most affected to come together to clarify and enforce norms. So by creating these safe and supportive infrastructures in which we can talk to each other across divides, community conflict resolution has power. The fourth power we need to create a culture of conflict resolution is the power of education. In addition to training lawyers how to use strategic process options, we need to train the public that there are alternative ways to resolve their disputes. We need to train our leaders to use consensus-building processes rather than tribal politics. And most importantly, we need to educate our youth. Teaching young children conflict resolution skills helps to build empathy for difference, helps to develop their social emotional intelligence. They learn to talk it out to work it out rather than resorting to harmful behavior. Our center works with schools across the state on a range of programs, including peer mediation, sexual assault prevention, and restorative practices. The goal is to create safe, positive and respectful school climates more conducive to academic learning. So in sum, conflicts are as difficult as they are inevitable, but we can transform a culture of conflict into a culture of conflict resolution if we use all of our superpowers: the power of the rule of law, the power of dispute resolution options, the power of community, and the power of education. Thank you.